All right, so we are live now. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Coin Voice Binance Live. So today we are having some very iconic guests over here. So they've been attracting heaps of attention in the past year, and now they are one of the most significant alternative L1 solution provider ecosystem in the market. So please let's welcome our guests for today, the Near Protocol ecosystem. Hi guys.
Hi, everyone.
Hey,
Hi,
good to be
Didier.
here.
I think you are muted right now. I think you're muted.
Who's muted?
Did you?
Yeah, I can hear you. All good. Hi, everyone. Very excited to be here.
Cool. All right. So tonight among our distinguished guests, so we have, because we are basically two of them. Our I guess unable to join us for today. So actually we have Didier from Refinance, and we also have Biotex from Origami.
Hello.
And we also have 0x Down from Trisolaris.
Hi.
Hi, Zero Down. Hi. Okay, guys. So these are the most iconic kind of ecosystem projects right now on Near Protocol and also in Aurora. Welcome, guys. And so first, let's just kickstart our live stream for today. And Didier, would you please just kick a rolling by give a brief introduction about yourself and also the Refinance?
Yeah, of course. Well, as you said, my name is Didier. I'm very glad to be here. So I'm the product manager. Hey, Bowen. I'm the product manager of Refinance, which is the first automated market maker built on top of Near. And Refinance is a combination of Uniswap V2 and the stable swap curve finance invariants. And yes, just to give you like some figures, our platform is around 100 million in TVL today, and we do between 5 to 15 million in daily trading volume.
Fantastic. That sounds pretty awesome. So it seems like you have getting pretty big tractions on Near Protocol, and we actually have heard a lot about Refinance, about you guys. So actually, personally, your project is actually the first ecosystem project we've heard about on Near Protocol, like even before Aurora. Okay, so Butex, would you please just give a brief introduction about yourself and also the Origami project?
Of course. Yeah, thanks. So Biotex, currently the team leader for Origami. So Origami, very simply, it's a money market on Aurora. So it's the first one there. And we are very fortunate to have gotten investments from Dragonfly, Polychain, Coinbase, Mechanism, and John Alameda, among others. So the product went live in a little less than 24 hours ago, and we've amassed something like $125 million in liquidity in the same period of time. So I think we're very much interested in continuing to build up the momentum. So I think we can expect to hear more from Origami itself in the coming weeks and months.
Awesome. So basically, we read that you actually have a multiply on your website. So would you please just explain a bit more about what does that multiply in your project? What does that stand for?
Right. So as a money market, the plan is to introduce a token, a governance token, right further down, and the token ticker is Ply. So Ply itself has some significance and meaning with paper, right? And again, like because origami itself is very paper centric kind of theme. If you look at our collaterals and the design of the app layout, it's all very paper theme, and we wanted to have that kind of consistency across our messaging. So multiply is so the word multiply, I think it's really just to encourage users to be creative in the way they utilize the capitals for wealth generation.
I see. So basically, what you're doing is that you're providing the money market and uh, essentially like an interest rate discovery kind of marketplace, and you are enabling your users to really, use the marketing in a very creative way.
Yeah, absolutely. So typically, I think with any kind of money market in any ecosystem, you could borrow money to deposit into different DeFi venues to leverage your exposure. And I think this is fundamentally the reason why money markets are such an instrumental infrastructure in any kind of ecosystem. And again, like just going back, right? Ply itself in the word multiply, we're using Ply as the token ticker. So that's why in the landing page, the PLYs are capped.
Got it. Fantastic. Okay, so we have Bowen from Near Protocol to join us. Hi, Bowen.
Hey, Vincent. Hey, everyone. Nice to be here.
Yep, awesome. So Bowen, would you please just give us an introduction about Near Protocol and also what Near Protocol has been up to recently?
Sure. Yeah. So I actually we work very closely with Near Protocol. We were previously some core members of Near core protocol team, and now we spin off to become a separate entity called Proximity Labs, and we have 4 co-founders. And our mission was really to work with project funders in this space to establish and develop a DeFi ecosystem with everyone here. And this in general, 2 core pillars of responsibilities. First is we do handle about like a few $100 million of DeFi incentives for us to work, for us to use those and use those with projects in the DeFi ecosystem to bootstrap liquidities, to build all the incentives to build like basically, win assets with users. Yeah. There's a second part of it is we also in the process incubate some projects that we think is necessary components in the DeFi puzzle. So and Burrow was one of the projects that we work very closely with, and like literally everyone here we're more or less in contact or very closely in contact with. So we mainly spend our time with most of the core DeFi projects to build our early market movement and also with the aim to build a sustainable DeFi ecosystem.
Got it. Awesome. Yeah, it seems like Near Protocol has a very very strong kind of like focus. Because since we last spoke, right? Like I asked you the question. So what Near Protocol's and like main focus right now? Like what would be the of the key interest of Near Protocol when it comes to like you say like projects to be on the ecosystem and your incubation kind of priority, then your answer was DeFi. So like I mean like which is great, like to see that so many DeFi projects are now prospering on the Near Protocol ecosystem, which is a great thing to see. And may I ask a question? So, what do you reckon that is the key differentiator in Near Protocol when it comes to DeFi? What is the key differentiator for the projects in the Near Protocol kind of DeFi world compared to many other, alt L1 or L2 kind of ecosystems?
Cool. I can probably share some of my perspective, and I'll hand over to the more important parties on the table. So I think one of the unique setup of Near Protocol, it has the parallel or networks running on top of Near protocols. Like you have Aurora as the EVM layer, you have Octopus as the substrate layer, and you also have the near native environment. Yeah, and that setup is already interesting, and on top of that, like all these protocols on the contract level, they can communicate with each other. Like they are of different environment, and they're serving for different projects. For some of them are Ethereum projects for them to quickly move to Near, and some of them are more near native projects that are maybe NFT GameFi, or maybe a GameFi component such as Refinance that they built for multi-purposes. And these protocols on the contract level can actually, like, for example, on there's a potential, right? We already see devs are exploring, like on Trustlaris, for example, you can core contracts and core liquidities on Refinance, and on Refinance you can also core contracts and core liquidities on Trustlaris. This is somewhat interesting. Okay? So we're serving different customers, but like make them seamless, have the seamless experience that not to make them feel very apart, but you almost like living and working on the same network environment. Yeah, whether to be EVM or native. So that's one of the interesting components, and also I think one of the good thing is the project that we work very closely with, and that are core pillars in the DeFi primitive markets right now today, and every member on the table today would not only see people making, like, bring the existing concept to the market, but they also making innovation and trying to in the process find their niche market and try to serve their niche market and find a way to build its business identities. Yeah, that's also very interesting. So I would say on the ecosystem level, the network setup is very interesting and unique, and allows much more possibilities for cross network and cross environment communications. And second thing is it's people and its projects. Yeah.
Got it. Awesome. That sounds very fantastic, and very actually very unique. This is pretty kind of a unique design in terms of the network itself, and I believe that creates a lot of possibilities for better kind of composability between different kind of projects. Could potentially solve the fragmentation between the liquidity fragmentation issue across some different protocols. All right, so finally we have 0x Don. Hi, Don.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi. So 0x Don is from Trisolaris. So this is actually a very interesting name. Reminds me of Tree Body Problem. So this is like one sci-fi kind of novel. Yeah. So could you please tell us a little bit more about your project and what actually makes the project itself unique in terms of its value proposition?
Yeah, for sure. So Trisolaris was, in fact, the name was derived from the three-body problem. We're all pretty big fans of the book, and yeah, basically, at its core, the product is the decentralized exchange. Currently, the leading decentralized exchange on the Aurora EVM engine. We're a little above $300 million in TVL and doing over $15 to $20 million in volume a day. And I think the key factor that kind of sets us apart is we try to make it as easy of a user experience as possible, especially for folks coming from similar dexes in other EVM chains, like obviously Ethereum mainnet, and then several other EVM options are out there. And at the same time, we try to integrate as much as possible with the rest of the Near and Aurora ecosystem, which brings with it a lot of advantages as well, because there's so much development activity going on in the ecosystem. So starting with this core primitive of building a decentralized exchange, and then looking to build further products on top.
Okay, awesome. All right, guys. So thank you for all your introduction about your project and definitely about the ecosystem itself. So I think there are some very interesting questions. I think many in our audience, or basically ourselves, are pretty curious about. So I have prepared some of the questions, and so hopefully that you guys can share some opinions on all of these questions. So the first question is actually for all the project teams. So basically, this is a pretty crucial question. So why would you actually start building on Near, like instead of other L1 and L2 kind of ecosystems? Is there any specific reason that you would like to deploy your project on Near protocol? So starting from DDA.
Yeah, sure. Well, actually, in the case of Refinance, it's not that we choose, to build on Near, but because the protocol was created by Ilya, the co-founder of Near. So, and usually, within a blockchain, you have different primitives, right? You can stake, you can transfer, you can create an account, you can destroy an account, and so on. But the next use case is usually, well, can I, change one token for another? So the ability to trade, basically. And I think that's the reason why Ilya built almost a year ago Refinance, which is which was the first use case, the first DeFi use case built on top of Near. And just to get back to your question on Near, and to complement what Bowen said about what's the key differentiator with Near, I think, as Vitalik said it during ETH Denver, I think sharding is not a concept anymore, right? With Near, sharding is actually a real thing, because the blockchain is using one shard, which is the ability to split a database into different rows and not columns. So I think that's the main differentiator, although we can't see it yet, because sharding must be this ability to scale massively, not hundreds of thousands of users, but millions of users and billions of transactions. And I think that's one of the main differentiators, just to complement what Bowen said at the beginning. But so we didn't choose Near, but we inherited Refinance, which
Got it. Very interesting. So you guys are pretty much like an incubator, or like originated from Near, which is fantastic. Okay. So how about Origami? So you guys are like a lending and borrowing protocol, and basically I think we see 4 types of so actually, like, the DeFi infrastructure is mainly supported by 4 pillars, right? So one is the decentralized exchange. The second one would be the lending and borrowing. The third one might be, the toolbox of derivatives. And finally, we got the aggregators, the decentralized asset management, right? So clearly, that lending and borrowing is one of the the pillars of the ecosystem. So. So may I ask a question? So because this and also like it's very competitive for lending and borrowing protocol out there, like many of the competitors around the like different L1 and L2. So what's the reason for Origami to be on Near protocol, and also what do the features like sharding of Near protocol have actually helped in Origami project?
So I'll actually take this question with a slightly different angle, right? So I think what interests us in building on, say, Near and Aurora is largely because of what we see in the potential of the chain itself. So I wouldn't go through the technicalities of the chain, because I think both Bowen and Didier have covered it pretty well. The composability aspects of it are it's definitely one of the most important things, right? It helps with the narrative and the potential. I just want to point out that there's another very important factor for our consideration in building on both Near and Aurora, and that's because I think when it comes to retail, most people would not recognize the difference between the different technicalities between each of these like ecosystems and chains, right? So to a user, as long as they have a way to generate wealth, it doesn't really matter whether the chain can process 5,000 transactions per second or 50,000 transactions per second. It's the difference is actually very marginal from a user perspective. Now, what impresses me about the Near and Aurora chains, the team itself, is that both the teams are very focused in the business development aspect, and we can already tell from, say, 2 months ago, Near announced that they had a strategic round led by Three Arrows, participated by a number of other very influential and reputable investors in the form of, say, Polychain and Coinbase, among others. And what it tells me is that with the participation of this group of investors, it is very likely that there will be a new round of capital injection into the ecosystem. And I think this is especially important, right? Because if you're a developer, why would you want to build a product on an ecosystem that is extremely dry and thin in liquidity? It wouldn't make a lot of sense, right? And I think these is just something that is very cyclical. You have capital injection into the ecosystem, and then it builds up the awareness. It attracts developers to build products on top of it to capitalize on that liquidity, and then that cycle continues itself. So I see that, from a business development standpoint, the Near team has done a fantastic job in recruiting some of these very influential ecosystem partners to try to chart out the marketing plays, as well as improving the reach so that it can reach out to more retail investors, retail participants and developers. And I think that actually makes quite a lot of difference from a protocol perspective in our decision in choosing to build on Near Aurora ecosystem.
That's fantastic, and I think this is a very interesting take. Yes, exactly. So from a end user's perspective, really, like I couldn't care less about what's an blockchain it's actually running on, unless when like most of my balance was actually on that specific chain. I basically don't want to. I just been too lazy to move the money around. Then that would actually matter only in that way. But I think what really matters for most of the DeFi protocols is first the liquidity issue, because this is basically what it's for, right? So if I'll totally agree with you that if the liquidity is very thin, then that doesn't make sense if I actually build on the top of your protocols for any kinds of like derivative kind of projects. And second thing is really about the user experience, like and I like it the way that you are building your UX. So it's actually making it very friendly for many of like end users to access your product and like do a lending and borrowing on the top of your platform.
Thanks, Vincent.
Cool. All right. Zero X Don. So the same question to you. So because the DEX, DEX is actually a very, very competitive place, right? So even within the Near protocol and also like Aurora, the same ecosystem, we have seen a few different players here, including Refinance and others. So I would like to understand a bit more about what would make your product unique, even like within the ecosystem itself.
Yeah, I mean, the key rationale for why we even chose Aurora to begin with was we saw it as kind of a bridge or a gateway drug into the Near ecosystem. As Butex was saying, the end user doesn't really make a huge difference as to kind of where they participate as long as they can generate wealth. However, from the developer's point of view, ultimately you need new applications, new dApps for users to actually come and participate in an ecosystem, right? And DeFi, as we know it today, with the core primitives of DEXs and money markets and stable coins and reserve currencies, there's still plenty of innovation left in the DeFi space. New applications that we haven't even thought of that can be built. And our bet was, where is this new ecosystem of dApps potentially going to be built? The core technology underlying Aurora, and especially as it's settling on the Near blockchain, makes it a bit more future proof in terms of scale. So even though the transactional throughput doesn't matter per se right now for the user standpoint, say a year or two or a few years from now, we can actually accommodate apps at scale that reach a global audience and apps that we haven't even thought of. And being a core primitive like a DEX on such an ecosystem is massive. As more apps get usage, eventually people will want to swap between assets. And so we just want to be there to grow along with the ecosystem.
Awesome. Totally. Yep. And next one will be a very sharpish kind of question. I think I would like to start the question from Bowen. Many of them. So because of the like a very unique kind of architecture of Near protocol, right? So within your ecosystem, you have the Near protocol as a L1, but you also have Aurora, and you also have like Octopus network, this kind of infrastructure. So would you please explain a little bit more about how these different infrastructure interact with each other and communicate each other to our audience?
But that's probably a more of a tricky question to me, because I'm more of a business focused person in the ecosystem. But as far as I know, I'll share what I know. So Aurora is just a smart contract layer on Near, and the communication is just like how normal function call can work and can across different network. I'm not sure if I can answer the question very on a technical, more of a technical perspective. But I know it works, and I know it's viable, and solution is viable, and for example, Refinance is already doing that, and as far as I know, so they're trying to explore liquidity aggregation on the Aurora side. Maybe they can share a little bit more on the technical exploring on that perspective.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think Bowen. I think you're right to mention that Aurora is a smart contract, on top of Near. So basically, what you can do from the Near ecosystem is basically call this contract and then perform some transactions, and in those transactions you can have 1 to n actions, right? So yes, I think from an exchange perspective, we are very interested in looking at, well, how can we make a bridge and how can we offer to our users better prices, which is basically our business. How do we provide good prices? And if we can aggregate liquidity within Aurora to give better prices to our users, this is definitely something on top of our list, because this is our nature, right? So we are like very excited about this possibility, but obviously it's technically speaking quite of a challenge. So but we are working on that, and it's definitely on the roadmap for this year. So yeah, I think that the other thing I just want to come back on here, because I think there is something worth mentioning too, which is the Near's private shard. And I think this is also a key differentiator compared to other blockchains, this ability to target private institutions and companies, right? Because Near is a climate neutral certified blockchain, and taking advantage of this label to target permissioned environments, I think is a very good strategy. So saying telling to, I don't know, the big 4 companies or whatever, well, you can basically have your own blockchain on top of Near in a permission environment, so that won't never touch any retail DeFi stuff. I think is quite a powerful thing and very undervalued today. So no one is speaking about it, but it's basically happening. So this is also something, very where I think we stand out. But I think for what OXDAWN and Butex said about composability, I think for us this is like a key metric, right? Because we can have a look at TVL, but if there is no capital rotation, then we have TVL for nothing, right? So at which rate people move money from one hand to another is something we need to monitor very closely, because it's basically the success of our environments. From that derives the success of our environments. And the more freedom we give to our users, you can borrow money, you can you can farm this money, then with this money you can pay an invoice, etc., etc. Having this composability, I think, is one of the things we are very focused on, either on Aurora or on Near, all working together to improve that, actually.
And thank you for the explanation. And for Origami and Trisolaris, so if I don't get it wrong, then you guys are both based on Aurora, right?
That is correct.
Yep. So I would like to understand a little bit more about as in Aurora is basically the smart contract, the EVM friendly layer of Near protocol. So I would like to understand, to your very perspective, like lending, borrowing, and decentralized exchange. So how important is it for the infrastructure, or basically the blockchain foundation to be actually EVM friendly?
So from my experience, I think it's actually, at this point in time, I would say it's quite important, because for now, if you ask me, I think the talent pool that is specific to crypto and blockchain is still relatively small compared to the other sectors. So by now, I think across the different kind of languages, right, Solidity probably has the biggest community, simply because Solidity has been around for a number of years. So if from a protocol standpoint, if they want to build up traction, it makes a lot of sense to try to make it Solidity friendly, because there's just a lot more people who are familiar with the tech stack, and that familiarity allows them to port over very easily. And this is one of the key propositions of Aurora, in my opinion. It basically leverages on the performance of Near and combine it with the toolings that the Solidity or the Ethereum community has developed, right? And this is where we see a lot more of these infrastructure and potentially innovative plays that can happen on top of Aurora. And that would result in, hopefully, a prosperous ecosystem, and then that kickstarts like more participation from the retail and institutions, and just grow the ecosystem altogether. Now, I just want to add on to the performance aspect, right? One of the things that we've contributed to the ecosystem of late is that like the Origami team has participated in a development that resulted in an upgrade that was published recently. So this involves the this upgrade is the Aurora 2.4.0 upgrade. Basically, right now with the newer upgrade, right, Aurora blocks are a lot more gas consumption efficient, at least 2 times. So this is a significant improvement that I see, and I think with that improvement, we will likely see a lot more complex or innovative protocols from the other chains porting over to Aurora. So it's definitely very exciting to look forward to.
Okay, thank you for sharing. How about you, Zero X Don? So would you please share your opinion on the same question?
On the EVM compatibility of Aurora?
Yes. So how important and what kind of implications this kind of EVM friendliness has brought to your project and your very perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it's been huge. Obviously, it cuts down the speed of development pretty significantly, because if you're already used to the EVM stack, it's plug and play with the entire development tooling and ecosystem around that. And I think it also encourages other developers who have tried experiments in other ecosystems to try their luck in Aurora as well, which is only good for the ecosystem. As there's a different user base potentially, there's a different target market, and there's a potential for these dApps to flourish in an ecosystem and learn from prior mistakes. So it's been fantastic.
Awesome. Okay, so my next question is, so basically, Vitalik has mentioned that. So he believes that he firmly believes that multi-chain is definitely going to be the future, but probably not for the cross-chain bridges, right? So I would like to get your opinions on what is your view on the multi-chain future. So I know that most of you guys are from like a DeFi kind of perspective, right? So in terms of the DeFi, what is your what do you envision that the future with the existence of a multi-chain would be like in DeFi? So Didier, I think you can share with us some.
Yeah, sure. That's quite a tough question, but I will do my best. But yeah, I think that I do agree with Vitalik that there will be a multi-chain future. I don't see like a winner takes it all model, because the entry cost is very high, right? So let's say I want to deploy an application on Avalanche or on Near or on an EVM compatible, blockchain. The cost is quite high, and the learning curve is also quite painful, right? So once I have my application in this environment, I'm going to focus on my go-to-market and how I can acquire users, basically. So I think that the future will be maybe like a few, winners, let's say maybe less than 10, but then the ability to communicate between those different layers will be quite key. And and I think so I really see, I'm trying to find a relevant analogy here, like the first email system where it wasn't yet like a unique protocol, right? But if you had a Yahoo email, then you can only send email to Yahoo people and so on. So I think about the possibility to have a protocol that which can be a very trustless bridge, this ability to communicate between those different protocols. But I don't see one winner in the future. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. And Butex, yes.
Yeah, so I was going to add, right, like, so I do agree with the perspective that it is very unlikely that we'll see one monopoly. We will probably have numerous different ecosystems, maybe over time, each of them very catered to specific use cases. Now, so I think of the ecosystem a little bit like countries that we have. And every one of these ecosystem functions as if an individual sovereign. So right now, naturally, like a lot of things are happening domestically within an ecosystem. But over time, as the technology improves, as say transfer of value and liquidity made more efficient because of technology improvement, I think we can expect a lot more of these communications between the different sovereign. And I think it's really a matter of specialization by each of these chains. So I mean, personally, one of the tech sectors within crypto that I'm very excited about is still the bridge component, right? Because I think this sector for a long time, I think since like we've been having this kind of discussion about having multiple ecosystems years ago, and we're still on the lookout for a solution that can allow us to very, very seamlessly transfer value from one chain to the other. So I don't see how we can do with just one single domestic ecosystem. So my perspective is very consistent with Didier's in that over time we will have more of these, and the bridge is going to be a very important infrastructure that allows for that to happen.
Yep. Thank you, Butex. So yeah, totally agree with your view on the analogy of countries and different nations. Just compare them to L1 and L2 blockchains. So yeah, so very likely it will be this way. So we have already seen some of them. This kind of cases where some of the L1 or L2 kind of blockchains, they're trying to be very specific in some of the use cases, for example, like NFTs or privacy or like being more multi-chain or DA kind of like in terms of like communication more friendly. And I believe that this kind of a trend would still go on for quite a long while. And Zero Stone, so share with us your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, echoing some of the opinions of the others, comparing L1s or L2s and multiple chains right now is kind of a tough game. We kind of see it as comparing OSs or browsers, right? Eventually the feature sets will converge in the long term. Everyone wants to be at scale and everyone wants fast and cheap transactions. What matters is how unique are the apps that are built on top of these ecosystems, right? Which comes down to developers and the types of users that gravitate towards these apps. So we'll see how it evolves, but the bet we're placing on the Near and Aurora ecosystem is, I think, a solid one. It's already showing signs of promising growth, and new kinds of developers are coming here to develop different projects. So that should be an interesting new branch of how this ecosystem evolves.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and I think also when you have a look at the community, I mean, it's quite obvious having a look at the figures that there is like a Leviathan in this environment, and this Leviathan is Ethereum, right? And I think it's also very not pretentious, but we have Ethereum is, I think, over 1.5 weekly active users, and it's I think thousands of active developers, where Near is around 300 active developers, and I think we have 50,000 weekly active users. So we're just not playing in the same ground yet, and I think this is where Aurora and Aurora strategy and the go-to-market is very strong, right? And the value proposition is to basically tell those people you have like a lightning fast environment and with the same kind of experience, right? You have MetaMask, for example, and everything is happening behind the scenes. So I think this is where Aurora targets a very large audience compared to Near, at least at the beginning, right? Because the user acquisition cost for us is quite high, because the wallet, it's a different experience. Even Refinance has a small differences in terms of how do you interact with DeFi. So I think this is where so the main pool of users and developers is still Ethereum. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Didier, and thanks for sharing. And our final question, I would like to dedicate this to Bowen, because you're the representative of Near Protocol, because we've seen quite a few clocks right behind you. So definitely you're a guy who's very mindful about time. So I mean, as the competition between different L1s and the L2s are getting more intensified. So definitely you gotta be very mindful about the time and within basically, let's say, so this year is 2012, right? So what to expect about the whole Near ecosystem? What would you bring to what would the Near ecosystem bring about to all the audience and all the users and all the potential addressable market out there in this year?
Sure. I think near ecosystem level, especially the DeFi component, looking forward in 2022, is definitely going to be a very, very exciting year. I think Near is very well positioned as the underlying network for the infrastructure it has and the structure it has to better serve the DeFi environment, to better serve the retails, to better serve the underserved people who are more sensitive to price and more sensitive to user experience and transaction finalities. Yeah. And with most of the with everyone here on the table that is building the core DeFi components Near, and literally that we see every one of them are of very experienced team in the market, and we have a strong belief in the ecosystem, how we can first establish the DeFi market, the fundamentals, and the second, in the process, trying to be creative and do innovative things, and sort of in the process build out a sustainable market and find our business identity in the process. Yeah. That will require a lot of coordinations and product innovations from everyone in the ecosystem. That through the other conversations that you have with Refinance, Origami and Trezolaris, and then in the future, very near future, you will have a few like order book protocols on Near, like namely Spin Finance and Orderly, an on-chain derivative order book. Once this DeFi and also Burrow as a lending market and others, once this DeFi services, we're gradually filling this DeFi services and building up the DeFi composabilities. And I think the next step for us to have is really to open up, right? Open up the ecosystem to everyone. That is going back to our previous questions around the multi-chain problems or multi-chain discussions that are currently in the market. That bridge is definitely one of the core focus that we have to welcome or users and assets from all other ecosystem and build the connectivity and increase the velocity of money to increase the composability across chains. Like we started from multi-chain, multi-sig bridge solutions to more trustless based bridge solutions. Now today we see like even transaction based cross bridge solutions, and maybe in the future we can like sign across bridges, cross networks. We can try sign like metadatas and read metadata across different network and do more like complex cross-network transactions and communications. And once these are set up, I think, and with every of the solid components that we build, with every of the solid developers and projects in there, I would say the future is very bright. And on top of that, we also have the monetary and the business power that we have in our hand and ready to be executed, right? That we observe from capitals and users flowing from Polygon to Avalanche to Phantom to BSC to Harmony. Really, we see in the ecosystem, there will be a rush period, and in the rush period, there will be a lot of attentions and a lot of user conversion as asset conversions, and in the process there will be lots of innovations. And based on that, we have a solid foundation of DeFi projects that we have. Yeah, so I would say like we literally haven't used any of our incentives yet, and we have a few $100 million of them. Yeah, and we for our focus is to work with every solid project on the table and in the ecosystem to help them to grow and to help them to provide to help them to fasten the process to find the market fit and to deliver the services to the right people and to grow the ecosystem together. Yeah, this will be our focus, and in the process, we'll be also working with like infrastructure providers to fill in the necessary infrastructure components and to improve user experience. I think I'm very confident and very confident for the forward looking for the next 3 to 6 months at least, with everyone that we work with. And I think in the process, we will see lots of interesting things spawning out from this like rush period, and Near will be able to find its identity, and yeah, it will be a very different ecosystem if we look at today and compared to 6 months later. And we're definitely in the very, very early stages.
Awesome. Yeah, and we definitely have a strong faith in the Near protocol ecosystem, and we truly believe that you guys would bring a true difference to the entire blockchain space, and definitely to the DeFi space as well. All right, guys. So I think that's so much for today's session. And thank you guys for attending. And yeah, all the best to your projects. And yeah, we definitely fully aware of what's happening in Europe. And yeah, so everyone, please just stay safe and sound. And wish all the best to yourself and also to your family. All right, guys, please, and to everyone that's watching for now, please be sure to subscribe to AC Capital and Coinvoice on Binance, and you can also find this episode and this broadcasting on our YouTube channel. All right, thank you, guys. Thank you for your time, and have a good day.
Thank you,
Thank
Vincent.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.